Manchester United and Liverpool game postponed after fan protests. Manchester United's Premier League game against Liverpool was postponed after about 200 fans broke into Old Trafford to protest against the Glazer family's ownership of the club. The fixture was scheduled to kick off at 1630 BST on Sunday. This is a collective decision from the police. Both clubs, the Premier League and local authorities, said the Premier League. Police said two officers had been injured following the protests. It is the first time a Premier League match has been postponed because of fan protests. Fans had gathered outside the ground and scores of green and gold flares, the colours of United's first shirts when they were formed as Newton Heath in 1878, and of the original anti-Glazer protests in 2010 were set up at 1400. The protests follow United's decision, along with 5 fellow Premier League clubs, to join the European Super League last month before subsequently all pulling out. Supporters are currently not allowed into grounds because of the coronavirus pandemic, but some United fans got onto the Old Trafford pitch to protest, and even though they were removed, some then made it back on the grass later on. The security and safety of everyone at Old Trafford remains of paramount importance, added the Premier League. We understand and respect the strength of feeling but condemn all acts of violence, criminal damage, and trespass, especially given the associated COVID-19 breaches. We sympathize with the police and stewards who had to deal with a dangerous situation that should have no place in football. Both clubs had submitted their team lineups for the hotly anticipated fixture, but neither had left their hotels to go to the ground prior to the game being called off at just after 1735. United fans had also gathered at the Lowry Hotel where their side's players were staying prior to the match. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side are currently second in the Premier League, and a Liverpool win on Sunday will have handed Manchester City the title for the third time in 4 seasons. Talks will now take place after rearranging the game. Greater Manchester Police said it became clear that many of those present were not intending to exercise their right to peaceful protest, and that flares were let off and bottles thrown at officers. They added that protesters getting into the ground meant some United staff having to lock themselves in rooms. Those in the stadium were evicted by officers, but outside on the force court, hostility grew with bottles and barriers being thrown at officers and horses, said GMP. 2 officers have been injured, with one officer being attacked with a bottle and sustaining a significant slash wound to his face, requiring emergency hospital treatment. GMP Assistant Chief Constable Rose Jackson said the behavior displayed by those at both Old Trafford and the Lowry Hotel was reckless and dangerous. We have launched an investigation and will be working closely alongside partners to ensure we establish the full circumstances surrounding the events and prosecute those responsible. BBC Sport has been told the disorder included serious clashes with police around the entrance to the Munich Tunnel, which runs behind the Sir Bobby Charlton stand at Old Trafford. Our fans are passionate about Manchester United, and we completely acknowledge the right to free expression and peaceful protest, said United. However, we regret the disruption to the team and actions which put other fans, staff, and the police in danger. We thank the police for their support and will assist them in any subsequent investigations. Liverpool, who were also involved in the failed attempt to join the ESL, said they were in full agreement to postpone the game. It is our position that police Public safety must be the number one factor in any such situation, with the ability to provide a secure environment for the participants, staff, and officials being a particular priority, said the Anfield Club. It was clearly not possible for this to be guaranteed due to a situation which escalated rapidly. There has been a long-standing campaign against the Glazer family since the Americans' controversial leveraged takeover of the club in 2005. Recently, Manchester United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spoke to fans who entered the club's training ground at Carrington to protest against the owners. In the wake of the European Super League collapsing, United co-chairman Joel Glazer said the club apologized unreservedly, but the Manchester United Supporters Trust said it had zero trust in the owners. Must add that Joel Glazer and his family have shown time and again that their sole motivation is personal profit at the expense of a football club. It's been pandemonium, yet Mopitius podcaster Mike Parrell said at Old Trafford before the game was postponed. I don't think it's the right thing to do. On one side, that's how protests work, in that you need to send a message, but it's also not great. Breaking cameras, breaking glass, and rushing the stadium, all these terrible things are not what Manchester United fans want to be associated with. They shouldn't be doing it whatsoever. I don't think this conveys a message that they want the 50+1 fan ownership, which was the original idea. It hasn't really worked in my eyes. Another fan protesting at Old Trafford told BBC Sport when the Glazers came in 2005, the club wasn't in any debt. A few years later, you're talking 400 million pounds in debt. You took at the stadium. It's a beautiful stadium, but there is rust. It's falling apart and they just don't care at all. There's no communication with the fans. They said they would communicate with the fans, but last week there was a supporters community meeting. They didn't go. I think we are doing this in the best possible way. This news is from BBC Sport. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.